Well, Hamish de Bretton-Gordon joins us now from Salisbury in the UK. He's a chemical weapons expert advising NGOs in Syria and Iraq. Thanks so much for speaking to us. I want to get your opinion on what you make of Trump's assessment here. I mean, is he right to be so confident saying the caliphate is entirely defeated?
Well, I think he's right to say the caliphate is almost defeated. But I think it would be wrong to assume that all the Daesh fighters are defeated. And we're still pretty certain there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Daesh fighters in Syria in particular and Iraq. And then there are the many hundreds of jihadis who fought with the so-called Islamic State that are returning to their countries like the United Kingdom, Turkey and elsewhere. And I think to take our foot off the pedal at this moment and declare victory is probably not sending out the right message. We know that on all the jihadi websites, the Daesh fighters who have left Syria and Iraq are being encouraged to attack us in our own countries. So the fight will go on. The coalition have done a magnificent job thus far, but we really need to finish it and not take our foot off the pedal at the last moment.
Okay, so what would you advise the U.S. president then right now as far as removing all U.S. troops from Syria as he wants?
Well, I think Mr. Pompeo is absolutely right. Although the American forces are drawing down, I expect this will be a protracted effort, not the immediacy that President Trump suggested before Christmas. I would also implore the Americans to focus on Idlib province. That is the one province still not under control of the Syrians and the Russians. There are 4 million civilians there, trapped with the remnants of Daesh and Al-Qaeda, maybe 5,000 jihadists. And it is by leaving that place alone, and the United Kingdom, Europe and US have stopped putting humanitarian aid into Idlib, we're potentially creating the perfect conditions to allow the caliphate to regrow. So I hope the Americans, working with the Turkish government, will come up a plan to destroy the jihadists in Idlib province and then enable aid to get to people who have suffered terribly over the last few years in that province.
Right. But I mean, in the longer term, is defeating terrorist groups like Daesh really even possible? I mean, in essence, Daesh is a reincarnation of sorts of, Al-Qaeda and other groups that have been threatening the West for decades now. Even if you kick Daesh out of Syria and Iraq, that ideology still remains.
Well, that's absolutely right. It's very difficult to defeat an ideology, but we can physically defeat these terrorists, as we've shown with Al-Qaeda in the past and as we've shown with Daesh already. What we have to do, I think, is look at it at a much wider scale. And my area of expertise, apart from chemical weapons, is very much on humanitarian intervention. We must create the conditions so that ideology doesn't develop. And I go back to Idlib province, where there are no medical supplies getting in. People are starving. Basic amenities like electricity and water are not available. We must ensure that when we've defeated these terrorists, the people who they have been imposing upon, we do the best we can. It is not just a military option. It's what we need a comprehensive approach. And the key thing now is the humanitarian side to make sure that those who have suffered are provided for. And those jihadists who return to their home countries are very closely monitored and dealt with as appropriate.
Okay. Hamish de Bretton-Gordon, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us from Salisbury.